all season long, it has been clear that there are 3 teams in the Eastern Conference who stand above the rest. 3 teams who are the candidates to represent the East in the NBA Finals. These teams are the Bucks, the 76ers, and the Nets, of course. However, in recent days, one more team has started to get a little bit more traction, a little bit more hype, and that team is the Miami Heat. And while I like the Heat, and I think that they are a good team and they could be a very difficult first or second round out, if I actually had to bet, I do not think the Miami Heat would be my pick for the Eastern Conference dark horse. As good as they are, I just haven't seen enough from them this season, and with Victor Oladipo missing the playoffs, they would not be my pick outside the top 3 seeds to make the Eastern Conference Finals and maybe even some kind of insane finals run. No, I think the team who is the Eastern Conference dark horse is the Atlanta Hawks. Now, the Hawks do have some issues, and on the surface, I completely understand why most people would not take them seriously, would not pick them over a team like the Knicks, or a team like the Heat, even maybe a team like the Celtics who happen to have Jason Tatum, even without Jaylen Brown. And there's a few reasons for this. First of all, Trae Young has been a little inconsistent this season, he's been up and down. The Hawks have had a coaching change mid-season, which is generally not a great thing for a team, and also their defense is just not very good. They're 21st in the league, but man, some nights it feels like they're even worse than that. They have the 11th overall net rating, and they just don't feel like legitimate contenders. They just don't seem like they're there yet. They seem too young, they seem too far away. And while I would agree that it may be a little bit of a stretch to call this team a contender-level team this season, they might surprise us all in the playoffs if they manage to stay healthy, because while their record is only 40-31, aka not a great record, even if it is good enough to get them 4th in the East. However, their record under coach Nate McMillan has been 26-11, and in case you don't want to do the math or you're not good at math, I completely understand both feelings, that is the equivalent of a 57-win season in a normal 82-game schedule, or a 70% win percentage. So this team has been absolutely fantastic while Nate McMillan has been the coach. And it's even more impressive because if you look at the roster, this has not been a healthy team by any means. Trae Young has missed several games, Capella and Collins have missed a few games, guys like Gallo and Bogdan have missed more than a dozen games, and then you've got frickin' Deandre Hunter and Cam Reddish, who have both played less than 27 games this season. They have played less than 50% of the team's total games this year. And there's even more guys off the bench. Lou Williams joined late, Solomon Hill didn't really play much, Onyeka Okongwu was injured to start the year. This team has been crippled the entire year, and yet they have kept on winning as long as coach Nate McMillan has been in charge. Lloyd Pierce was just an absolute bum of a coach. This team has been killing it under Nate McMillan, and when you look at their overall stats, they are 8th in offense and 21st in defense, with an 11th overall net rating. If this team was healthy the entire year, I would be very surprised if they were not a top 5 offense and a top 15 defense, because 2 of those players that have been missing the most time, Deandre Hunter and Cam Reddish, both happen to be the 2 best non-big man defenders on the team. They're not as good as Clint Capella, of course, who's made a late Defensive Player of the Year push, by the way, because he's been that ridiculously good on defense for the Hawks, but they are both above average defensive players, and they would really help this team, because you got guys like Trae Young out here and Lou Williams, who just aren't good defensively. If you had Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter playing the whole season, they would make this team so much better on both ends of the floor. Cam Reddish has been solid, but DeAndre Hunter, I think, is one of the most underrated players in the entire league. The dude's a great offensive player. His three-point shot needs to come along a little bit, but overall, he's a great all-around offensive player and a great defensive player. I'm a huge fan of him. Cam Reddish, too, was having a little bit of a breakout year this season, but he hasn't really been the same after he came back from getting hurt. Gallo's been inconsistent, but he's been great off the bench. Lou Williams has been really good lately. John Collins is having a hell of a year, another frickin' 18-8 year on very good efficiency, 56% from the field, 39% from three. Bogdan Bogdanovic, he's doing his thing, he's efficient, he's scoring great, he looks amazing in this new role now that he's off the Kings. Clint Capella, I already told you about, and you all know what he does on offense. He sets great screens, he gets hella offensive boards, and he catches lobs very, very well. Kevin Huerter, a little bit of a down year actually for Kevin Huerter. His field goal percentage fell slightly from last year. He's not scoring quite as much, but he's in a reduced role. I think he's a fine player. And then, of course, you got to talk about Trae Young. People may not like the way this man draws fouls, and I understand, it's freaking annoying to watch. His three-point shooting is only at 34% this year, and in spite of that, he is still averaging 26 points a game and 9 assists. This man is still one of the league's best scorers and best playmakers, despite his massive inefficiency issues. And a lot of those issues come from early in the season when he had this very long slump under Lloyd Pierce. Lately, under McMillan, he's been scoring less, but he's been a bit more efficient, he's been a bit more of a team player, and he just looks like the better leader and facilitator for this team. Under Nate McMillan, they look like a completely different team. This team is now a well-oiled machine. They've been better on both ends, they play together well, they have an actual system in place, unlike Pierce, who just was kind of like, yeah, I guess I'll give Trae Young the ball and let him make some shit, up out of his ass. Just do whatever you want, Trae Young. Hurdy-dur. Nate McMillan is a real coach, and even though Pacers fans will tell you very quickly he has some issues, he is the stability that this team needed. And I would not be entirely shocked if they cause some kind of crazy first or second round upset, depending on what their seed is. I'm not expecting it. I'm not predicting it, and I would be shocked if they make it all the way to the finals. But if I had to choose one team to come into the Eastern Conference who is not one of the top 3 seeds, it would be the Atlanta Hawks, because if they get healthy here in the playoffs and they have their whole team together, there might just not be another team in the league who can actually stop them. They're pretty much the Nets with better defensive talent. Okay, that's a massive overstatement, okay? They're not pretty much the Nets, but they're a very, very good offensive team, and they have better defense than the Nets. So I'm just saying, if you got a matchup with the Hawks, that's a scary matchup, man. That is a scary matchup.